Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
What is happening, everybody? I'm Larry Roberts.
And I'm Sara Lohse, and this is Branded, your comprehensive guide for creative branding.
And on this episode of the podcast, we're going to be taking it a little deeper than normal. We're going to be thinking long and hard about this episode, and we're going to be drawing out a mind map.
A what?
A mind map, Sarah. It's a map of our mind.
No way.
So no, it's interesting because I belong to a variety of masterminds, and I was in one a couple of weeks ago, and to be honest, I kind of got, I was in the hot seat, and that seat got very, very hot because they were talking about how I do so many different things and I cover so many different topics. They're like, dude, what do you do? And it kind of left me stumped for a couple of weeks. And, we had the holiday there. So I had a lot of downtime, a lot of thinking time. And I went and visited another creator. His name's Roger Wakefield, massive YouTuber. He's a plumber by profession. And he just has an entire media compound out where I went. It's out here in North Texas. It's amazing. But he also brings a lot to the table. And he talks about a variety of topics. And it was just it was fate for me to go out there and visit him this past week, because as soon as I walked into his office, we had a little chit chat and I sat down and he hands me this 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and goes, bam, slams his hand down. He goes, this is what I've been working on. And it was a mind map, because he's doing the same thing. He's got him at the top here as the brand. Then he's got his YouTube. Then he's got his TikTok. Then he's got his speaking. Then he's got his courses. Then he's got his training. He's got all this stuff that he's bringing to the table under this one brand. But if you don't have clarity on how that brand comes together and how you can paint a cohesive picture to potential clients, it's just a muddled mess. And that inspired me to come back home. And after kicking rocks from getting my backside whooped in the mastermind, I started putting together a mind map.
So for people who didn't follow that, a mind map.
Do we need to mind map my story? Was it that convoluted?
I think so. So a mind map is basically a way that you can develop some clarity around what it is you're trying to do. So the way that Larry did it was, it's kind of like one of those, what is it called? Like a spider chart or something back in elementary school.
I've never heard it called a spider chart, but a flow chart.
Or maybe that's the circle kind. I don't know. It's some kind of chart. But you put your brand on the top, and then it's kind of like a family tree. That's what it looks like.
Okay.
Kind of like a family tree, because then that breaks down into the different areas that you want to focus on, and then from there you break that into what exactly it is that you do in those areas, right?
That sounds about right. It's like an upside down family tree, because the trunk is your primary brand, right? And then you turn it upside down, and that's where all the branches come into play and all the different components.
That's not upside down at all.
It's totally, well, trees don't grow with the branches in the ground.
Have you ever seen a family tree? It's like the ancestors at top, and then it grows out with all of the different families.
It depends on the diagram. I've seen actual trees with branches. Anyways, it could be the matriarchy and patriarchy of the family, and then from there it goes on down.
Anywho, so when you started yours, what you did, you broke it down first into 3 different pieces. So what were those pieces?
Well, the very top piece, I started it all with Red Hat Media. So that's at the very top. That's driving everything. That's the brand. The Red Hat for me, obviously, is the brand. But then I had to look and go, okay, what are the primary things that we do at Red Hat Media? Probably, and what are the primary things that we focus on? And by we, I'm talking about me because in my instance, a lot of the times I really am just the brand. It's me. So the three things that I focus on the most are podcasting, branding, and AI. So now, granted, there's some other fringe things that I dabble in from time to time, but those are the three primary focuses of me and what I bring to the table for Red Hat Media. So that's where it came from me, and then branched off into those three areas of, I'll call it areas of expertise or primary areas of focus. And then we had to take it one step further, actually multiple steps further. There we go. And had to start breaking out the specifics of what our offerings and what our focus is on within each of those three, we'll call them categories.
And for people that are listening to this, and if you're struggling to follow this, we're actually putting together a template of a mind map so that you can look at it and fill it in for yourself. So that's going to be available, linked in the show notes when this goes live. So don't worry if this is hurting your head. You'll be able to really visualize it. But I think it's interesting how, so you have podcasting, branding, and AI.
Yeah.
And then I feel like if I were to do this, because I haven't done this yet, I feel like podcasting might even be multiple things for me, because I'm looking at podcasting externally and internally. Like I want to do branding, branded podcasts for businesses. But one of the things that I'm trying to get into and learn more about is internal podcasts. And I feel like that's even like maybe its own thing. Like I don't even know if those would be together.
I think they serve such unique purposes that it might be smart to break them out into individual subcategories of their own.
Yeah.
And, and you were talking about just a minute ago, if folks that are listening are having a hard time picturing it, that's the whole purpose of this mind map, is so that you can draw a picture of your brand and a picture of your business model. And when I started doing this, and I think we've talked about it on other episodes, my website's going under a revamp right now as well. And my web developer's sitting right here, and I appreciate everything that she does for me in that arena, because she's also very talented there. But she goes, all right, man, we can redo this and I can make it look however you want it to look. But what's the content? Yeah. What do you want on the damn site? And that's right. I don't know. Just put something up there that's cool.
So like a couple months ago, the first time we did your site, that's literally what I did. Because you're like, I have an event next week and I don't have a website. Can you make me one? Yeah. And I was like, all right, bet. And in like one day created.
Said bet.
My New York just came out.
Yeah, right on. I dig it.
I just created a website based off of like, okay, I have a general idea. We weren't even that close at the time. So it's like, I had a general idea of what you did, but I didn't know, like I had no clarity for your brand, because neither did you. So now we look at that site and it's lacks all brand clarity, because we didn't take the time to do this.
Right.
And that's why this is so important. So anyone that is struggling with that brand clarity, what is it that you do? Who do you do it for? What are those offers? This mind map is a way to get that down on paper and have it in front of you, and breaking it down in a way that it almost will resemble your website map, because you're going to use this to actually outline to your website visitors what it is that you do. Because if you don't have clarity on your brand, the people that you're trying to get to hire you, they will have even less clarity on your brand. And why would they hire you if they don't know what you do? So,
and that could be painful too, to have that realization, going back to licking my own little wounds here, it's the whole hot seat thing that's it's been a couple of weeks and it's still stinging a bit, because it was literally, you don't have that clarity in your message. And the irony there is, we're sitting here, we have a podcast called Freaking Branded. So we're supposed to be the branding experts and have a firm grasp on how we convey our brand and our message that's behind our brand. And here I am struggling to keep it straight. But not to make excuses, this year has been an interesting year for me. There's been all sorts of developments with the whole AI thing and the branding and the, podcasting. I've been in that game for 10 years, going on 10 years now. So that's pretty straightforward. But the other two, it's been an evolution. And I think that's something that we tend to go through as entrepreneurs and business owners, but we have a very difficult time keeping our message up to date with our
Mhm.
evolution as a business owner.
Yeah, I think we also like kind of cling to the ideas that we have at first a little bit. And I feel like I say this a lot, but I'm a very much a do as I say, not as I do marketer because I know marketing. I've been in marketing for since 2017, if we're not counting those like 6 internships in college and all of the stuff I did in school. So I know marketing and I know what I should do for my company, but I don't do it. But I'll still tell you to do it for yours.
Yeah.
Cause it's like I'd rather take the time working on client projects and making sure that I give them the best product possible than spend the time to do it for myself. And I feel like that's so common. Like I cannot be the only one that does that. And
No, and
both of us are getting to that point where we're both like, okay, we need to figure our own shit out. Cause like you said, we're the branding people. Like we could talk about this all day, but then you look at our brands and we're like, we need to start listening to our own advice.
yeah, and it's sometimes that advice can sting more than just bringing it to your attention that you don't have the clarity you're looking for, but it can sting because your business and you as an entrepreneur, you do evolve. And
Yeah.
as you evolve, you start to stand out in potentially arenas that you never intended to be a part of. I mean,
Yeah.
as an example, the whole AI gig, right? I've gotten more attention and became more of a thought leader in that space in this year alone than it took me 10 years to get even in the podcast space. And if we look at it from the AI perspective, I mean, I've gone way above and beyond any success, quote unquote, that I've experienced in the podcast space. I mean, I've earned media attention on ABC, on big name channels on television. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm consulting with the state of Texas on education and the impact that AI is having on education. It's opening up so many doors, and so you have to look at it and go, okay, but I'm really a podcast guy.
I think you can be both. Having expertise in one arena does not remove the expertise you have in another. So I've become the podcast person too because it's what I've been focusing on and it's what I've been having a lot of fun with. So it's what I've been really targeting right now. But I was working, it was a former client, and I was consulting for them for their podcast. And we were looking at a landing page that they had made, and the landing page was not good. And I was like, okay, well, here's all of my feedback. And I started pointing things out, like based on psychological studies of like eye mapping, I would say move this over here. And the way that our brain reads words, if you have this all capitalized, it's harder to read. So it's like, I would make this to just title caps. And I'm telling them these things that I'm like citing psychological studies and all of this. And she stops me and she's like, this was made by marketers. That's their expertise. You're the podcast expert. So let's focus on the podcast. And I had to be like, ma'am, I am a marketing expert. I just focus on podcasts. Did you not like, did you not hear anything I just said? I didn't say, oh, I think this would be better. It's like, no, IMAP studies have proven that this is what they will look at. We can have more than one expertise. And it's when those like areas of expertise overlap that's like powerful. I don't think it's supposed to take away from them. It's how do we use all of these things that like that we know and use them to build on each other. Like I'm also a personal finance expert. I'm an accredited financial counselor. That's nothing to do with marketing, nothing to do with media.
I have to interrupt. You are all over the map here. I have no idea what you do. What do you do? There's no clarity. You're a finance expert. You're a marketing expert. You're a podcast expert.
I know, right?
How do you make all of this make sense?
Because it does, though. So, I mean, like I said, I'm a finance expert. So, at the time this is recording, I'm a few days away from leaving to speak at a finance conference on how to use podcasts to grow a financial brand because I've done that because I worked in the finance space while using podcasting and while using marketing. So I don't think it's a bad thing to have different areas that we're an expert in, if we can like harness them together. I guess that was a really long-winded way of saying that.
No, I think it's great. And you capped it off with the emphasis on the fact that you're going to speak in New Orleans at a finance conference. But what are you speaking about?
Podcasting.
You're speaking about podcasting. And why do you have the opportunity to speak about podcasting at a finance conference?
Because I know finance.
Bing, 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 bing. There we go. We win the prize. So, having a diverse skill set and a diverse set of offerings under your brand isn't necessarily the no-no. It's not having the continuity between each of these branches, we'll call it, going back to our family tree analogy. It's not having a uniform collective with your messaging and your vision and your deliverables. That's the problem.
We have to also, like, how can we reframe these different expertise areas, these different niches, what have you, into unique selling propositions for ourselves? We had Gordon Firemark was just on the show. He's the podcast lawyer. He and I had sat down and had dinner a week before recording, and because he was in town accepting his award. And we ended up talking about my brand and what my unique selling points could be. And the finance piece was one of them in a way that I didn't really see before. He pointed it out in that I spent like 4 or 5 years working in marketing for finance so that I know how compliance works in finance. And I haven't had something kicked back to me from compliance saying like, oh, you can't say this, since like the first year I was doing it. So when I started working with a real estate firm and they were doing real estate investing, the guy looked visibly stressed having to explain to me what compliance is. And I'm like, oh no, I'm good. Like I worked with CFPs for years. I got this, don't worry about it. And he just like visibly relaxed. And like I've worked with lawyers who have a lot of compliance. I worked in healthcare that has a lot of compliance. All of these industries that are so regulated. I've done it before and I understand it. And that I never thought of as a selling point. But the way that he pointed it out to me that it actually is was really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's huge. And I didn't know where this realization came from, but I recognized when you started emphasizing compliance. It was kind of interesting to see because the conversation started switching over and you started talking about it as a potential selling proposition and how we could leverage that for internal podcasts and how we could really lean into that. So
thanks, Gordon.
Yeah, thanks, Gordon. Gordon Sharp fella. I would definitely check out his podcast if you haven't yet. So, but that's really what it amounts to, is understanding your potential to offer a unique selling proposition because of your unique background. I mean, how many people out there have a background that lines up exactly like Sarah's? How many people out there have a background that lines up exactly like mine? It's very few. And while, again, it does seem fragmented and it does seem all over the place, if you take the time to step back and visualize how all of these components not just go together, not just make sense under your primary brand, but how they complement each other and really elevate each other. And that's what everything that I do at Red Hat Media and Sarah does at Favorite Daughter Media, and we do together at Branded.
And being able to put all of this on paper is really the first step to figuring it out for yourself. So going back to this idea of that mind map, take that time to do it. Really sit down. Like I said, we're going to have that template available for you. So figure out what are the main offerings, like what are the main areas of expertise, I guess.
I like area of expertise. I think that's really good. And that's kind of what we were talking about when we look at my podcasting, my branding, and my AI. That would be my areas of expertise. And then within each of those, you've got the sub components to go into those.
Take each area of expertise and then break it down into what can you offer? Like how can you use that expertise in the service of others? Looking at, let's say, branding for Red Hat, you have that broken down into speaking on branding, the book that you're coming out with on branding, And then social media. So how can we help others create a cohesive brand for their own social media? The area of expertise is branding, but from there we break it down into what it is we can help others do by offering this expertise.
Yeah, and from there you just break it down even further until you get down into the smallest details. And when you put that much thought, that much time, and that much visualization into something, you're going to discover things about each of your brand components that relates to the others and how you tie that together. And once you have it all tied together, then you can start working on your messaging. You can talk about your vision and your mission and your core values of your business. But it all dials right back to us. We have to have that clarity before we can start trying to give that clarity to others. So that's what we're talking about today, drawing it all out, putting together these mind maps. And hopefully you can take some of the things that we said here and map out your own mind.
Create your little brain tree.
Create your little brain tree.
Yes.
All right. Well, hopefully with that, you're inspired to create your own personal brain tree. I know Sarah and I are actively working on ours. It's been a very, very fun exercise, and we're going to continue to work through it together while we lay out this brand new website that I can't wait to roll out. So with that, if you found some value in this episode, map it out for us. Tell us all about it. And while you're at it, also hit that subscribe button so we can continue to bring you these insightful conversations on each and every episode. With that, I'm Larry Roberts.
I'm Sara Lohse. We'll talk to you next week.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.